Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. Pierce's fingers flew across the haptic keyboard, lines of code materializing on the holographic display. The clock on his desk blinked 2:37 a.m., but time had lost all meaning hours ago. He rubbed his bleary eyes, the New York skyline a blur of neon through his apartment window. Compile complete. No errors detected, the AI assistant chimed. Pierce leaned back, cracking his neck. Another night, another successful debug. He should have felt accomplished, but a gnawing emptiness persisted. At 28, he was at the top of his field with a corner office at Nexus Corp and more credits than he could spend. Yet something was missing. His gaze drifted to the VR headset gathering dust on his nightstand. He hadn't touched Galactic horizons in weeks, but suddenly the idea of escaping into that virtual universe seemed irresistible. "What the hell?" he muttered, reaching for the sleek device. "It's not like I've got anywhere to be tomorrow." The familiar startup tone hummed as the neural interface connected. Pierce's cramped apartment dissolved, replaced by the bustling spaceport of New Arcturus Station. Holographic advertisements flickered, hawking everything from black market cybernetics to the latest faster-than-light drives. Beings of every conceivable shape and hue bustled past, some flesh and blood, others pure energy or crystalline constructs. Pierce's avatar, an idealized version of himself with sharper cheekbones and perpetual stubble, strode purposefully through the crowd. He had no real destination in mind, but the sheer sensory overload after weeks in the real world was intoxicating. A flashing sign caught his eye. The event horizon, drinks from across the galaxy. Perfect. He could use a stiff drink, even a virtual one. The bar's interior was dimly lit, with pulsing bioluminescent plants providing most of the illumination. A protoplasmic bartender slithered between patrons, pouring concoctions that defied the laws of physics. Pierce settled onto a stool, absently noting that the developers had really outdone themselves with the haptic feedback. "What'll it be, stranger?" The bartender gurgled. Pierce opened his mouth to order when movement at the edge of his vision made him pause. A lithe figure had just entered, drawing every eye in the establishment. Her skin was a deep emerald green, seeming to shimmer with an inner light. Waves of iridescent hair cascaded down her back. And her face. Pierce felt his breath catch. It was as if someone had distilled pure beauty into physical form. The newcomer glided to the bar, settling gracefully onto the stool next to Pierce. Up close, he could see that her eyes were a mesmerizing swirl of gold and violet. "Hi there," Pierce managed, his usual confidence deserting him. Can I buy you a drink?" The green-skinned beauty turned, regarding him with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "A drink?" she asked, her voice melodic. "Is that a human custom for initiating social interaction?" Pierce blinked, thrown off balance. Most player avatars stuck to fairly standard human behavior patterns. This one seemed different. Yeah, you could say that," he replied. "I'm Pierce, by the way." "Greetings, Pierce," she said with a slight bow of her head. "I am Kira of the Zentari. It is pleasant to make your acquaintance." "Zentari," Pierce echoed. "I don't think I've encountered that race before. New expansion content?" Kira tilted her head, a perplexed expression crossing her flawless features. "I do not understand. This is no expansion. I am simply myself." Pierce felt a jolt of excitement. Could this be some kind of advanced NPC? Or maybe even a GM running a special event? Either way, he was intrigued. "Well, Kira of the Zentari," he said, turning on the charm. "What brings a lovely alien like yourself to a dive like this?" Kira's lips quirked in what might have been a smile. "I seek to understand other beings," she replied. The Zentari believe that true comprehension can only come through direct experience, and so I am here to experience. There was something in the way she said that last word that sent a shiver down Pierce's spine. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice. Well, if it's experience you're after, I'd be happy to show you around. In fact, he paused for dramatic effect. I wouldn't mind being inside you. The moment the words left his mouth, Pierce realized how they sounded. He'd meant it as a suave double entendre, but Kira's eyes widened in genuine shock. Inside me, she gasped. What do you mean by saying you'll be inside me? Is this some form of human reproductive process? Pierce felt his face grow hot. No, I mean, not exactly. It's just a figure of speech, for, physical intimacy. Kira's expression shifted from shock to fascination. Ah, I see. You are referring to the act of coupling, but I do not understand. How can one being be inside another without causing grievous harm? Pierce couldn't believe he was having this conversation. He glanced around, half expecting to see other players laughing at him, but no one seemed to be paying them any attention. It's not literal, he explained, struggling to find the right words. It's more like a joining, a really close connection. A joining? Kira's eyes lit up. Like a melding of minds? Yes, this I understand. Though for the Zentari, such unions are not limited to mere physical contact. Now it was Pierce's turn to be confused. What do you mean? Kira leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. My people share thoughts, memories, entire lifetimes through a process of mental fusion. It is how we truly know one another. Pierce's mind raced. This had to be some kind of elaborate role-playing scenario. But if so, it was the most immersive one he'd ever encountered. He decided to play along. That sounds intense, he said. So, you've never experienced physical intimacy? Kira shook her head, sending ripples through her shimmering hair. Not in the way you describe. The concept is intriguing. Perhaps you could elaborate. Pierce suddenly felt very out of his depth. Well, it's hard to explain. It's something you really need to experience for yourself. Indeed. Kira's eyes sparkled with mischief. Then perhaps we should arrange such an experience. For research purposes, of course. Pierce nearly choked on his virtual drink. Was she actually propositioning him? Yeah, that could be arranged, if you're sure. Kira's laughter was like tinkling crystal. You humans are so easily flustered. I was merely jesting, though I admit I find your reactions most entertaining. Pierce felt a mixture of relief and disappointment. Oh, right, just a joke, got it. Do not misunderstand, Kira said, placing a hand on his arm. The touch sent an electric current through him, far more vivid than standard haptic feedback. I am genuinely curious about human customs and behaviors. Perhaps we could continue our discussions. I find you intriguing. Pierce's pulse quickened. I'd like that, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Same time tomorrow? Kira nodded, rising from her seat with fluid grace. Until then, Pierce of Earth, may your dreams be filled with starlight. As she glided away, Pierce couldn't tear his eyes from her retreating form. He had no idea what had just happened, but he knew one thing for certain. His life in Galactic Horizons had just gotten a lot more interesting. Over the next few weeks, Pierce found himself logging into the game with increasing frequency. His work suffered. His sleep schedule became erratic, but he couldn't bring himself to care. Every moment not spent with Kira felt like a waste. Their conversations ranged from the profound to the absurd. Kira's perspective on the universe was utterly alien, yet Pierce found himself drawn in by her infectious curiosity. She asked endless questions about Earth culture, often leading to hilarious misunderstandings. So, these memes, Kira mused during one late-night chat in a virtual recreation of Saturn's rings. They are a form of information warfare. Pierce chuckled. Not exactly. They're more like inside jokes shared by millions of people. Kira's brow furrowed. But how can a joke be inside something? And how can millions share it without dilution? It's not literal, Pierce explained, a phrase he found himself using often. It's just a way of spreading ideas through humor. Fascinating, Kira breathed. The complexities of human communication never cease to amaze me. As the days passed, Pierce found himself opening up to Kira in ways he never had with anyone else. He told her about his lonely childhood, his drive to succeed, the emptiness that plagued him despite his accomplishments. Kira listened with rapt attention, offering insights that were both alien and profound. In turn, she shared glimpses of Zentari culture. Their society was built on the foundation of shared experiences, with every individual's memories and knowledge accessible to the collective. Privacy, as humans understood it, was a foreign concept. "But don't you ever want to keep things to yourself?" Pierce asked. Kira tilted her head, considering. Why would one wish to limit the growth of others? All experiences, be they joyous or painful, contribute to the wisdom of our people. Pierce shook his head in wonder. I can't even imagine what that would be like. A mischievous glint appeared in Kira's eyes. Perhaps one day you will not have to imagine. The comment sent a thrill through Pierce, but he tried to play it cool. Oh? And how exactly would that work? Kira leaned in close, her virtual breath tickling his ear. There are ways, Pierce of Earth. Ancient techniques passed down through generations, but they require great trust and intimacy. Pierce swallowed hard. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Kira pulled back, her musical laughter filling the air. Perhaps, but such things cannot be rushed. For now, let us simply enjoy each other's company. And enjoy it they did. Whether exploring the virtual recreation of the Horsehead Nebula or simply sitting in comfortable silence, every moment with Kira felt charged with possibility. Pierce found himself thinking of her constantly, even when logged out of the game. It was during one of their stargazing sessions that Kira dropped a bombshell. I believe it is time we took our interactions to the next level, she said casually, as if discussing the weather. Pierce's heart raced. What did you have in mind? Kira turned to face him, her eyes swirling with emotion. I wish to meet you in a more private setting, away from the constraints of this public space. You mean, like a date? Pierce asked, scarcely daring to hope. Kira's lips curved into a smile. If that is the term you wish to use, yes, a date. Though I warn you, my idea of courtship may differ somewhat from human norms. Pierce grinned, feeling a rush of excitement he hadn't experienced in years. Kira, I think I can safely say that nothing about you is normal, and I wouldn't have it any other way. As they made plans to meet in a secluded virtual paradise, Pierce couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the precipice of something monumental. Whatever happened next, he knew his life would never be the same. Little did he know just how right he was. The virtual sun warmed Pierce's skin as he materialized on the secluded beach. Waves lapped gently at the shore and a light breeze carried the scent of tropical flowers. It was perfect, almost too perfect. Impressive, isn't it? Kira's voice came from behind him. Pierce turned and felt his breath catch. She wore a shimmering bikini that seemed to change color with every movement, accentuating her curves in ways that defied both physics and decency. Her emerald skin practically glowed in the sunlight. You look... Wow, Pierce managed, struggling to maintain eye contact. Kira's lips curved into a mischievous smile. I've been studying human attire for beach environments. Does this meet with your approval? Definitely, Pierce said, his mouth suddenly dry. Though I'm not sure how much swimming will get done. Kira laughed, the sound like tinkling crystals. Who said anything about swimming? She sauntered towards him, hips swaying hypnotically. Pierce found himself rooted to the spot, heart racing. When she was mere inches away, she leaned in close. "I have a surprise for you," she whispered, her breath tickling his ear. Before Pierce could respond, Kira placed her hands on either side of his face. Her eyes, swirling pools of gold and violet, locked onto his. "Do you trust me?" she asked, suddenly serious. Pierce nodded without hesitation. "Completely." Kira's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Then, open your mind to me, Pierce of Earth. Let me show you how the Zentari truly connect." A tingling sensation spread from where her hands touched his skin. It quickly intensified, becoming an electric current that raced through his entire body. Pierce gasped, his vision blurring. Suddenly, he wasn't just seeing Kira, he was experiencing her. Emotions, memories, sensations flooded his consciousness. He felt the joy of soaring through alien skies, the wonder of discovering new worlds, the loneliness of being far from home. It was overwhelming, intoxicating, terrifying, and the most intimate thing he had ever known. When the connection faded, Pierce found himself on his knees in the sand, panting heavily. Kira knelt beside him, concern etched on her features. "Are you all right?" she asked, gently stroking his hair. "I should have warned you. The first melding can be intense." Pierce looked up at her, seeing her in an entirely new light. How is this possible? We're in a virtual world. It shouldn't." Kira placed a finger on his lips, silencing him. "The mind is more powerful than you realize, Pierce. The Zentari have developed techniques to transcend the limitations of physical reality. What you experienced was a true meeting of our consciousnesses, facilitated by the neural interfaces we use to access this virtual space." Pierce's mind raced, trying to process the implications. "But that means you're not just an NPC or another player. You're really here. You're real." Kira's expression softened. "Yes, Pierce, I am very real. And so is what I feel for you." They came together in a kiss that was both tender and passionate. Pierce poured everything he had experienced, everything he felt into that kiss. When they finally parted, both were breathless. "That was... wow," Pierce said, grinning like an idiot. Kira traced a finger along his jawline. "Indeed. Though I must admit there is a certain appeal to your human methods of physical intimacy as well." What followed was an exploration of pleasure that transcended the boundaries between virtual and real. Pierce lost himself in the sensations, marveling at how the game's haptic feedback could produce such vivid experiences. By the time they lay tangled together on the sand, watching a simulated sunset, he felt more content than he had in years. "I wish we could stay here forever," he murmured, running his fingers through Kira's iridescent hair. She propped herself up on one elbow, regarding him with a mixture of affection and concern. "But we cannot. You have a life beyond this virtual world, Pierce. Responsibilities, friends, family." Pierce waved a hand dismissively. "Nothing I can't handle from in here. Besides, none of that feels as real as this. As you." Kira's brow furrowed. "That is concerning. Perhaps we should limit our time together. I would not want to negatively impact your life in the physical realm." "Don't be ridiculous," Pierce said, pulling her close. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm not giving this up for anything." As the weeks passed, Pierce found himself spending more and more time in Galactic horizons. His work suffered. Deadlines slipped by unnoticed. He canceled plans with friends, ignored calls from family. Nothing mattered except his time with Kira. They explored virtual wonders beyond imagination, soaring through the rings of gas giants, dancing in zero-gravity nightclubs, watching the birth of stars. And always, there was the indescribable intimacy of their mental melds. It was during one such meld that Pierce first sensed something was wrong. A flicker of guilt, quickly hidden, but unmistakable. "Kira," he said as their minds separated, "what aren't you telling me?" She averted her gaze, a behavior he had never seen from her before. "It is complicated." Pierce took her hand, marveling as always at how real it felt. "Hey, you can tell me anything, you know that." Kira sighed, a sound filled with cosmic weariness. "I have not been entirely truthful with you, Pierce. My presence here, it is not merely for personal exploration." A cold knot formed in Pierce's stomach. "What do you mean?" "I am part of a diplomatic mission," Kira explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Zentari are considering opening official relations with Earth. My task was to study human behavior, to determine if your species is ready for contact." Pierce reeled back as if struck. "So what? I'm just some lab rat to you? A specimen to be studied?" "No." Kira's eyes flashed with genuine pain. "What we have is real, Pierce. I never expected to feel this way." "To feel what way?" Pierce demanded, anger and hurt warring within him. "You've been in my head, Kira. You know exactly how I feel about you. Can you say the same?" Kira reached for him, but he pulled away. "Pierce, please, you must understand. The fate of two civilizations could hang in the balance. I cannot simply abandon my duty." "And what about your duty to us?" Pierce shot back. "To what we have?" I... Kira faltered, tears shimmering in her alien eyes. "I don't know." Pierce stood, his avatar flickering with his turbulent emotions. "Well, figure it out, because I can't keep doing this if it's all based on a lie." He logged out before she could respond, ripping off his VR headset and hurling it across the room. The real world came rushing back. His cluttered apartment, the stack of missed work, the blinking light of his comm unit indicating dozens of unread messages. Pierce buried his face in his hands, feeling lost in a way he never had before. How had he let things get this far? He had given everything to Kira, to their virtual relationship. And for what? A lie, an alien research project. The next few days were agony. Pierce threw himself into work trying to make up for lost time. He reached out to neglected friends, made stilted small talk with concerned co-workers. But always his thoughts returned to Kira. He resisted the urge to log back in, to see if she was waiting for him in their usual spots. The temptation was almost overwhelming, but the pain of betrayal kept him away. It was nearly a week later when the message came. Not through the game, but to his personal comm unit. How she had gotten the contact info, he had no idea. "Pierce." Kira's holographic image flickered to life above his desk. "I know you are angry, and you have every right to be. But please, give me a chance to explain. Meet me in our usual place. If you still wish to end things after that, I will respect your decision." Pierce's finger hovered over the delete button. It would be so easy to erase her from his life, to try and forget the impossible connection they had shared. But deep down, he knew he couldn't. Whatever else had happened, what he felt for Kira was real. With a heavy sigh, he reached for his VR headset. The beach was exactly as they had left it, eternal digital sunset painting the sky in impossible hues. Kira stood at the water's edge, her back to him. Even now, the sight of her took his breath away. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said without turning. Pierce approached cautiously. "I wasn't sure either, but I think we both deserve some closure." Kira turned to face him, and Pierce was shocked to see the toll their separation had taken. Her usual radiance was dimmed, her eyes lacking their customary sparkle. "I have made a terrible mistake," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "In trying to maintain my objectivity, I have hurt the one being in this universe who truly understands me." "Kira," Pierce began, but she held up a hand to silence him. "Please, let me finish. My people value honesty above all else, and I have failed to live up to that ideal. The truth is, Pierce, I love you. Not as a subject of study, not as a representative of your species, but as you, the brilliant, flawed, beautiful individual you are." Pierce felt his anger crumbling. "But your mission is secondary to what we have discovered together," Kira said firmly. "The connection between us, it is unprecedented, a bridge between our peoples that no official diplomatic channel could hope to match." She stepped closer, close enough that Pierce could see the swirling depths of her eyes. "I cannot abandon my duties entirely, but I am prepared to fight for us, Pierce, to convince my superiors that what we have is worth preserving, worth building upon." Pierce wanted to believe her. God, how he wanted to. But doubt still gnawed at him. "And if they say no? If they order you to break it off?" Kira's gaze never wavered. "Then I will defy them. I have experienced your world through your eyes, Pierce. I have felt your joys, your sorrows, your hopes and dreams. I cannot simply walk away from that." She held out her hand, an invitation and a promise. "The choice is yours. We can face whatever comes together, or we can part ways now. But know that my feelings for you are real, and they will remain so regardless of your decision." Pierce stared at her outstretched hand, his mind racing. Could he trust her? After everything that had happened, could they build something real? In the end, it wasn't a choice at all. He took her hand, feeling the familiar electric tingle of connection. "Okay," he said softly. "Let's see where this goes. Together." Kira's smile was radiant, filling Pierce with warmth. As their lips met in a kiss that transcended virtual and physical realities, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. But a nagging voice in the back of his mind whispered a troubling question. What if this, too, was just another layer of deception? Pierce's fingers trembled as he input the coordinates Kira had provided. The nondescript office building in Geneva seemed an unlikely place for a clandestine alien rendezvous, but his racing heart told him otherwise. This was it, the moment of truth. As he approached the entrance, a discreet scanner bathed him in pale blue light. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a stark white corridor. Pierce took a deep breath and stepped inside. Identity confirmed. "Welcome, Mr. Hawthorne," an AI voice intoned. "Please proceed to conference room 7. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, each step bringing a new wave of anticipation and fear. What if Kira looked completely different in person? What if their connection didn't translate to the real world? He reached a door labeled CR7 and hesitated, his hand hovering over the control panel. Before he could decide, the door whooshed open, and there she was. Kira stood by a large window overlooking the Swiss Alps, her emerald skin practically glowing in the afternoon sunlight. She turned and Pierce felt his breath catch. If anything, she was even more stunning in reality. "Pierce," she breathed, a smile lighting up her face. "You came." He wanted to say something smooth, something profound, but all he managed was a strangled "hi." Kira laughed, the sound just as musical as it had been in the virtual world. She crossed the room in a few graceful strides and without hesitation pulled him into an embrace. The initial awkwardness melted away instantly. Pierce inhaled her scent, an intoxicating blend of exotic flowers and ozone, and felt a sense of rightness settle over him. This was real. She was real. When they finally separated, both were slightly breathless. Kira's eyes, swirling pools of gold and violet, searched his face. "I was worried," she admitted, that perhaps the transition to physical reality would be jarring. Pierce grinned, feeling more at ease by the second. Honestly, it's like I'm seeing you clearly for the first time, and I like what I see. Kira's cheeks darkened to a deeper shade of green, her version of a blush, he realized. You are not so bad yourself, Pierce of Earth. They spent the next hour talking, laughing, marveling at the simple joy of being in each other's physical presence. But eventually, the elephant in the room could no longer be ignored. So, Pierce said, his tone growing serious, I think it's time you told me everything. About your mission, about us, all of it. Kira nodded, her expression becoming solemn. You're right, of course. You deserve the full truth. She took a deep breath. As I explained before, I am part of a diplomatic mission. The Zentari have been observing Earth for centuries, waiting for the right moment to make contact. My task was to assess humanity's readiness for open interaction with alien species. Pierce leaned forward, fascinated despite his lingering hurt. And what did you conclude? A small smile played at Kira's lips. That humans are infuriating, unpredictable, often irrational, and utterly captivating. Your species has so much potential, Pierce. The good and the bad, the triumphs and the failures, it all adds up to something truly unique in the galaxy. But what about us? Pierce pressed. Was I just part of the experiment? Kira's eyes flashed with genuine pain. No, you were the variable that changed everything. Our connection, the depth of what we shared, it was unprecedented. I reported it to my superiors, of course, but I downplayed the personal nature of our relationship. Pierce raised an eyebrow. You lied to your bosses? I thought honesty was a big deal for your people. It is, Kira said, looking slightly ashamed. But I feared they would order me to terminate contact if they knew the full extent of my emotional involvement. Pierce felt a surge of affection for her, mixed with a touch of worry. And now, what happens next? Kira's expression turned resolute. Now, I make my final report. But before I do, there's something I want to share with you, something that could change everything. She stood, extending her hand. Do you trust me, Pierce? He hesitated for only a moment before taking her hand. Always. Kira led him to a small alcove containing what looked like two high-tech recliners. These are neural interface pods, she explained, similar to your VR technology, but far more advanced. They will allow us to achieve a true Zentari melding, not just a simulation, but a complete union of minds and souls. Pierce's eyes widened. Is that safe? Kira squeezed his hand reassuringly. It is not without risk, but I believe it is necessary. Not just for us, but for the future of both our peoples. Pierce took a deep breath, steeling himself. All right, let's do this. They settled into the pods, and Kira began the initialization sequence. As the interface connected, Pierce felt a familiar tingling sensation spread throughout his body. And then, everything changed. He was no longer just Pierce Hawthorne. He was Kira, soaring through the skies of her home world. He was the collective consciousness of the Zentari, spanning millennia of shared experiences. He was the very essence of what it meant to be human, with all its flaws and glories. Emotions, memories, and sensations cascaded through him in a torrent of pure information. He felt Kira's initial curiosity about Earth, her growing fascination with humanity, the exact moment she realized she was falling in love with him. He experienced her internal struggle between duty and desire, the pain of keeping secrets, the joy of finally being honest. And through it all, a profound realization began to take shape. This connection, this melding of two vastly different beings, it was more than just a personal journey. It was a glimpse of what could be, A future where humans and Zentari could truly understand each other, bridging the gap between their species in ways neither had thought possible. When the meld finally ended, Pierce found himself gasping for air, tears streaming down his face. Kira was in a similar state, her emerald skin glistening with a sheen of moisture. That was... Pierce struggled to find words. "I know," Kira said softly. "I felt it too." They came together in a kiss that was both tender and passionate, channeling everything they had experienced into a physical expression of their bond. What followed was an exploration of pleasure that transcended cultural boundaries, a union of bodies to match the union of minds they had just shared. Afterward, as they lay entwined, Kira traced patterns on Pierce's chest. "Do you understand now," she asked, "why this is so important?" Pierce nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known before. "We're the proof of concept. If a human and a Zenitari can connect like this, then perhaps our peoples can find common ground as well," Kira finished. "It won't be easy. There will be fear, mistrust, cultural clashes. But what we have, it shows that it's possible." Pierce sat up, suddenly energized. "So what's our next move?" Kira's eyes sparkled with determination. "I make my report to the Zentari Council, recommending immediate open contact with Earth. You use your connections in the tech world to prepare humanity for the revelation that we are not alone in the universe." "And us?" Pierce asked, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. Kira smiled, pulling him close. "We face it all together, as partners, as lovers, as a bridge between two worlds." The following months were a whirlwind of activity. Pierce worked tirelessly, using his influence in the tech industry to subtly prepare the public for the idea of alien contact. Kira engaged in delicate negotiations with both her people and select human officials. There were setbacks, of course, moments of fear and doubt. But through it all, their bond only grew stronger. They balanced each other, Pierce's human passion and intuition complementing Kira's Zentari wisdom and perspective. And finally, the day arrived. As Kira stood before the United Nations, officially revealing the existence of the Zentari to humanity, Pierce watched from the sidelines with a mixture of pride and awe. This was only the beginning, he knew. There would be challenges ahead, cultural clashes to navigate, prejudices to overcome. But as Kira's eyes met his across the crowded assembly hall, he felt a surge of hope. Together, they had already bridged the gap between their worlds. Now, it was time to help the rest of humanity and Zentari do the same. Epilogue. 5 years later, Pierce lounged on the porch of their Swiss chalet, watching as Kira chased their twin toddlers across the lawn. Zara and Eli, with their pale green skin and mischievous human eyes, were living proof of what was possible when two species came together. "Daddy!" Zara squealed, running to him with arms outstretched. "Save me from the tickle monster!" Pierce scooped her up, grinning as Kira approached with a squirming Eli in her arms. Now," he said in mock seriousness. "What have we said about unleashing tickle monsters before dinner?" Kira's musical laughter filled the air. "Oh, please, as if you're any better, Mr. Let's have a pillow fight at 2 a.m. "That was one time," Pierce protested, but he couldn't keep the smile from his face. As they herded the children inside for dinner, Pierce marveled at how much had changed. The initial shock of alien contact had given way to a cautious optimism. Zentari technology was revolutionizing medicine and space exploration. Human art and culture were experiencing a renaissance, inspired by new perspectives. And at the center of it all was their family, a living example of harmony between species. Later that night, as they lay in bed, Kira propped herself up on one elbow. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked softly. Choosing this life? Pierce pulled her close, breathing in her familiar scent. Not for a second, though I still can't believe you fell for my cheesy pickup line in that virtual bar. Kira snorted. Please, I want to be inside you. I thought you were proposing some kind of bizarre human surgical procedure. Hey, it worked, didn't it? Pierce waggled his eyebrows suggestively. Kira's eyes glinted with mischief. I suppose it did. Perhaps you'd like to demonstrate that particular human custom again? As they came together, minds and bodies intertwining, Pierce sent a silent thank you to whatever cosmic forces had brought them together. Their love story had changed the course of two civilizations. And the best part? It was only just beginning.